Hey guys, it's Aaron from the Disciples here with Barney, and today we are going to talk about Yu-Gi-Oh! Specifically.
Edison format. Hi guys. Yeah, we're here today. We're going to make this video. We're going to chat to you a little bit about the game we all know and love, which is Yu-Gi-Oh! But moreover, this is, and I think Boothroyd will agree, this is the undisputed, unrivaled, greatest format of all time, Edison format. And today we're just going to cover a few things about
Yeah,
the game, like what is Edison format? Why is it the greatest format of all time? I
it's
think we're going to take
definitely
a
a
look at
strong
some deck
contender.
lists,
Yeah.
definitely.
Um, s-
And yeah.
so for those of you who don't know, we have also mentioned this in our podcast, Tap Tuesdays. Feel free to check it out. But if you've been living under a rock, I suppose, in the Yu-Gi-Oh community for a while, or even if you're just new to it, getting into it, Edison format is March 2010, I believe the ban list came in effect. But what's so
It is. Yeah.
specific about Edison format, why it's so great, it was only around for 1 month. There was only one event, I believe, the SJC tournament that Jeff Jones won. Um,
Mhm.
and yeah, so that's why it's so cool. There's a lot of undiscovered things, a lot of stuff still being solved. What you're seeing on screen now, fingers crossed if I've got the recording right, is the list that he won this event with.
Yeah, this is the list that Jeff Jones came first place. And the reason it's called Edison format, like Boothroyd said, is SJC Edison. And it was a short window of time, but
Yeah, just
a lot of people really love this format because it's
yeah,
so diverse.
uh,
And we've got a few more deck lists to show you,
yeah.
but this one is the one that won the
One thing
SJC Edison at the time.
I had to be familiarized with because I didn't have exactly March 2010 format memorized in my head. You can say that's what it is. It's basically everything before the Shining Darkness, so that's right before. There's no Ronin Todian, no XX Saber Dark Soul, but anything before that is good to go.
Yeah, a lot of people argue that the Shining Darkness changed the game a lot, because Ronin Todin brought. There was a Frog FTK that Ronin Todin brought. The Shining Darkness changed X Sabers massively. If you guys
Mm.
have seen the history of Yu-Gi-Oh on Simo's channel, you'll know exactly what we're talking about because you'll see the power level just increase exponentially after Edison format. But
Yeah,
the reason why this format is so beloved is because anything can win, and we've got a lot more deck lists to show you
yeah, and this isn't even
about.
all of them, guys.
Yeah,
There's infinite number of viable decks in this format, which is one of the reasons why it's so great.
exactly. And I think the one thing that I mean, people would say the two greatest formats are Edison format and obviously Goat format, which has a lot of people playing it, has quite a cult following. But what
Definitely.
what I would argue is that Goat format has a lot of really powerful one-offs that can just win you the game if you draw them. Cards like Delinquent Duo, Graceful Charity, Pot of Greed. If you're opening cards like that and your opponent isn't, then the game is really in your favor. And the thing with Edison format is those cards don't really exist, do they, Booth? So,
Yeah, so like, it kind of was saying this similar before. Like even the blowout cards they do exist, they're like usually monsters like Dark Armed or Chaos Sorcerer. That they're more respond. You can respond to them. You have a chance to play.
mhm.
Whereas if someone just activates Duel on you, so unless you're judgmenting it, there's not what you can do. Um,
Yeah,
but one of the thing I liked with regard to Edison to Goat, the variety of cards and like the decks. Like Goat's a pretty solved format now. There's like X amount of decks and all the card pool is pretty. There's only a finite number of good cards, but with Edison, because obviously, well, no disrespect, like as the game's progressed, there's more cards available, so you got more options and more room for innovation and deck building.
exactly. Exactly. There is a lot more innovation in Edison, and it is by no means solved. And
Mm,
now we're going to show you some deck lists. So this was the
yeah.
2010 Jeff Jones deck list, and at the
Quick
time,
draw
this was the
dandy.
best deck.
Yeah.
Yeah, quick draw dandy. This deck's, the name says it all. Quick draw and dandy. You open those
Yeah.
two. There's a little combo you can make with Drill Warrior. You can get back any card from the grave, and if you open Debris as well, you can end up on things like Stardust Dragon. Some of these really powerful synchro monsters. And at the time, this was the best deck. I mean, it was the best deck in the room. It won the
Yeah.
tournament.
And a
But
lot.
since then, go on. Sorry,
No,
mate.
yeah, like yeah, the a lot of these all cool synchro monsters are really nostalgic, for older players to get back into, because and that's one thing it's great to like have with friends that play. It's always the card pool never changes, you know. So like you always can you can buy cards without having to worry about it. Your deck will never get like unplayable. You can just sit down and pick it up again after long hiatus, which is nice.
100%. 100%. The card pool's never changing, but the format is always changing
Yeah,
because
yeah. It's
there's
got a good
there's
list, I
so
guess.
many
Yeah,
cards to choose from. Um,
yeah.
and here, what Boothroyd is showing you now is how the game has developed in the last decade since SJC Edison, because people have still been playing this format for over 10 years now. And here is a deck on the screen. This is Blackwing.
Arguably one of the best
Definitely,
decks in the format.
definitely one of the best decks of the format.
Yeah.
This deck is very consistent. I mean, Black Whirlwind is
Well,
a
Edison
powerhouse.
did a video about this deck itself not too long ago now. Their channel, you should check that
They
out.
did, they did, and it was that was an amazing video. That's one of my favorite videos from them because
Mm.
they really go in depth with this deck. And if you guys haven't checked them out, you really should. Ed and Edison is a great resource for people getting into Edison format. We'll probably link them in the description or something. But yeah, look, here is Vayu Turbo. So go back to Vayu Turbo. So
Yeah,
um, this is using Blackwing cards, but it's using a different style, and it has a very different play style to Blackwing.
yeah,
It's a lot more graveyard centric. It focuses around Vayu.
yeah. Because
And
the original Blackwing deck was just playing the one because it's different game plan. Though. You just but both decks are so versatile in their own right about like applying pressure, being conservative.
exactly,
It's weird to see.
exactly, yeah. And that's just how the game has developed over time. I mean, there's so many different cards to choose from. You can end up with uh, a, taking the Blackwing cards and creating a deck like Vayu Turbo out of it, which has a completely different game plan.
Spoiled.
And it's a lot more using the power of monsters like Dark Grepher and Armageddon Knight to get your engine in the
Yeah.
grave and to play more of a resource game.
Because you
Whereas
can play slower
Blackwing's
games in Edison. Like the games are a lot more back and forth. It's not always decided turn one like it is in modern day Yu-Gi-Oh. You know.
exactly, yeah, it's really back and forward, and sometimes you might open, say, brick hands or hands that aren't as desirable as some others. But the
Mm.
thing is, because Edison is so slow, you can
Yeah.
afford
What's a
to.
brick, right? It's just like less playable.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, exactly. So you can afford to take a few turns to get your engine going and things like that. And I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of people like Gold Sarcophagus as a card in Edison format, because those two
Yeah.
turns
Yeah.
to add something to your
Not sure
hand
if
is
it's
the
in
Light
this
Swan
one.
deck that you're.
Oh yeah, I
Oh, this
wasn't sure
one
if it was
isn't.
in it. Yeah, but it's definitely in a
Yeah,
lot
but
of
this is.
them.
Yeah, this is Connor's list, isn't it?
Yeah, from the Pumpkin tournament. Yeah.
Yeah, so Ed and Edison run tournaments as well for Edison format, and one of our good friends, Connor, who's also one of our members of the Disciples, piloted this deck all the way to second place in that tournament.
Mm. But
Um,
yeah, I think that a
this
lot
is
the mono variant does definitely has the gold socks in it a lot of the time.
Yeah, it's a Search Judgment Dragon, but
Yeah.
Connor was going for a more explosive, more surprise factor of drawing
Mm.
cards like Kill Sorcerer and Dark Armed mid game, which can just turn the game on its head if you draw
But
them.
like we were saying though, like that you don't have to play the cookie cutter 40 card light swan deck because there's room for it. Like, anything can win if you pilot it well enough. The
Exactly.
the skill
Yeah.
expression is high.
And that's the beautiful thing about the game and about the format in particular is that it's constantly developing. So Connor's, came second with this list, which was very spicy, very different from a more standard Light Swan list. Because I know Connor was building this for a long while, and he was thinking about these certain techs, these certain picks, like DD Crow in the main.
Mm.
Um, but from here, someone might take this, and someone might go, okay, how about we try? I don't know, putting in some more zombie cards, maybe a Mizuki or a zombie master to pair with the plague. Do you know what I
Yeah, and
mean?
you can sort of see
Sometimes
how people would get from this to this just by like thinking about tweaking one or two cards here and there, here and there.
exactly, exactly,
Um,
constantly developing.
But I don't want you guys thinking like, oh, we're talking about this deck won a tournament, this is the best deck, this deck came really well at a tournament. But guys, none of these cards are expensive. You know, the game is super accessible for Edison format. Most of these cards,
Yeah,
these cards are a decade old. You know, they've been reprinted countless times. So please don't be intimidated thinking, oh, I don't know, it's a lot to get into. Like you have to put a whole deck, and like most of the extra deck you can probably see like a lot of it's the same as well. Um, so it's
hmm
super accessible to newer players, just building a deck. And like we
yeah.
mentioned
I really
before,
like.
go for it.
No, I really like what you're saying. The fact that these cards are so old and they've been printed so many times over. I
Yeah,
mean, that entire pure Blackwing list you could probably build out of commons. if you wanted to,
Yeah.
mostly anyway. And if you wanted to play the game Edison format in real life with your friends, and also adding to that is the Time Wizard. What was the thing that Konami just
Oh,
posted
yeah,
very
so
recently about?
yeah, they call it the Time Wizard format, right? They're making like Goat official formats, like there's a Nationals for Goat format in March,
Hmm.
in London. And so I think like where I was going is like in theory, maybe if that pops off, does well for them, they might recognize that Edison format is also beloved by the followers and players, and look to do
It
tournaments for
definitely
them
is.
in the future.
Yeah, exactly. And it's now down to your local OTSs if they want to play certain retro formats. And I think as we're coming out of COVID now, a lot more people will be wanting to play these retro formats in real life, and Edison will be
Yeah,
one of, if not the main go-to, because it's just so beloved and it has such a massive community. And at the
especially
end, we'll talk about the format library and
yeah,
the
yeah,
community
like
there.
I was like signposting, So if you do want to start, if you really enjoyed this video and you're like, yeah, I want to play Edison with my friends, it's sick. We'll give you some places that you can go and check out and get into it.
For sure, for
But
sure.
yeah, especially if players like us that like once upon a time we're competitive individuals, but now like especially over lockdown, it's been so hard to keep up with the evolving metagame. And to an extent, I know like Edison format does still evolve, and there'll be new techs and such, but your deck won't become eradicated by a ban list. It's still going to be there to come back to, which is
Yeah.
really it's comforting.
This is your list, isn't it, Boothroyd? This
It was the one I
top
played to
list?
the first Edison Cup. Yes, it's a bit different now, but yeah,
Okay, nice. See, there's so many different decks, guys. This is Boothroyd's Frog Monarch list.
yeah,
Um,
favorite deck of all time for sure.
yeah, there's more than a dozen different competitive decks. I
Yeah.
like
I haven't even
you
got
could
a
play
screenshot
any
of the
deck,
hero the hero diva list anyway. I didn't I can get a screenshot of it. Or like the Fanvel deck.
right?
There's so many that I've missed out. These are
There,
just like some really like staple ones.
and at the end, I think you have the Glads. Do you?
Yes, yes, yeah. Gladiator
Glad
Beasts.
Beasts. This deck always scares me whenever I play it
Yeah, me
and
too.
play against it. But this was, if I'm not mistaken, Marcus's list, was it, or one or
Um,
similar list to
I
Marcus's?
just went on the edisonformat.com and screenshotted the Gladiator Beast one.
Okay, got you.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a great resource for you guys as well if you want to get into Edison format.
.com.
Edisonformat.com,
Yeah.
which is run by the guys over at Ed and Edison,
Oh,
and
that
they have
explains why they featured the podcast. It makes sense.
yeah, yeah, it's run by those guys.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's
Um,
sick.
yeah, yeah, and they have all different decks for you guys to take a look at. They have
Yeah.
what the ban list was like at the time. Um, they have the card pool.
Yeah, so even
They
if you just want
have
a template, if none of these things, if you want to play your own deck that's like not as iconic as one of these ones, there'll be something there for you for sure.
exactly, exactly. You have decks like Zombies, which just won the Ed and Edson tournament very recently, which no one thought was going to win, and now it's a scary contender. People have to prepare for that deck
Yeah,
now.
for sure.
You
People
have
with Red Goblin Zombie, they're oh, it's at two for a reason.
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
There's Fish OTK, there's Frog Monarch, there's
Oh,
Angels,
I
Christia Turbo.
I thought about putting the Fish FTK deck on the like screenshot, but I didn't want to encourage our viewers to play FTKs.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
that's the thing as well. You guys can play heavy back row decks like Glad Beast, or you can
yeah,
play aggro decks like Fish OTK.
yeah. There's literally
Whatever
anything.
your play style is, you can play it.
Pretty sure that the most annoying hand traps like Honest, right, or DD Crow. There's no Ash. There's nothing like that.
Yeah,
Um,
no hand traps for you to get blown out by. DD Crow is arguably one of the best cards in most side decks.
yeah.
You have the
It's
Angel
in the
deck does
main
play
deck.
Herald of
Yeah,
Orange Light, so if you end up playing against the Angel deck, be careful of that.
yeah.
Um, but things like that, you know. So what else can we talk about, Boothroyd, about Edison format?
Well, if you
Oh,
want to
and
let them know about the
yeah,
cup.
go on, go on. Yes, the
Yeah,
Edison Cup.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I wanted to
yeah,
quickly talk on that.
yeah.
That is something that we, the disciples, have started doing now. We had our first. It's basically a tournament, an Edison format tournament that we run within our team. So our team members, we all get together twice a year to play this tournament. We've got a trophy for it, and we write our name. It's basically like banter between friends, and to get your name on this cup. And there's prizes and there's stuff like that. But Our next one is going to be in a couple of weeks' time. Our next Edison format tournament, the Winter Cup. So if you guys want to see any of that stuff, any
Damn.
content from there, we could record videos. We could do stuff from there. If you guys want to see more Edison content, please leave that in the comments below. Let us know,
Yeah.
and we can always bring that, because I mean Edison format for people like me and Boothroyd who since COVID we've stopped playing competitive, basically, haven't we,
Yeah.
man?
Yeah. Pretty much.
I
Yeah.
mean, we've got mates in our team, like Tristan, Gabriel, Betty, Sam, a load of the others that really like are into competitive still, and they're really doing well in the
Yeah.
competitive
For
scene.
sure. Yeah.
And you're
Definitely.
going to be seeing them topping YCSs very very soon, topping regionals, YCSs. They've got a lot of stuff going on in terms of competitive, but for people like me and Boothroyd who have kind of slowly come out of the loop in terms of competitive scene, if you guys want to see more stuff like Edison, we're definitely here to provide it.
Yeah. For sure. What can you say? Right. The format's not going anywhere. Neither are we. So stay tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned and let us know if you want to see more Edison stuff.
Yeah.
Let us know.
I think
Um,
that about wraps it up now. It's pretty much.
yeah, that does. I think that does.
Could
Yeah,
sit here and talk for hours about reasons why you guys should get into Edison formats. So just do it. Just take the plunge. Why not?
take the
Um,
plunge.
yeah,
Have fun. Play around with it. See what decks you can come up with. And obviously a big shout out to Ed and Edison.
yeah,
They're one of the reasons why I started playing Edison format. They're an amazing, amazing channel, and they have some really great resources both on their channel and on edisonformat.com. So please check those guys out.
and yeah,
Keegan and
thanks to
James,
our
shout out to you
sponsors,
guys.
Mike from the Brotherhood, MetaMats, Card Market, everyone who subscribes. Thank you all, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Yeah, see you later, guys. Lots of love. Bye bye.